intentional living isn't about squeezing more into your day. It isn't about, waking up at 4 a.m., taking a cold plunge or a cold shower, then, running a marathon, then having some green juice or something all before you even have breakfast. It's about simplifying. It's about choosing less, less noise, less of the things that drain your energy, so you actually have time, space, and energy to do what matters most to you. And that's what we're diving into today. In this video, we're going to talk about why more isn't always better. We're going to talk about things like choice overload and how you figure out what to say yes to at the end of the day. This is part of my September Seasons of Intention series. I'm going to link the rest of it somewhere up here for you. And they're all about how you can create and live more with the flow of your internal creative seasons. Let's start with a confession. I used to think intentional living was basically about doing more but better. More journaling, more yoga, more habits stacked like Jenga blocks, one on top of the other on top of the other. And it just felt like my life might topple over any second if I just forgot one of the blocks in the chain. Sometimes I still think this way and feel this way, but I know that that's a trap. It's part of the culture we live in, where we just hustle and worship more, more achievement, more side hustles, more optimizing, those 5 minutes of free time you have in a day through all these optimization apps. But more doesn't equal meaningful. More doesn't equal better. More doesn't equal valuable. It doesn't mean intentional. So we need to figure out how to break away from this myth of more. There's a psychologist called Sheena Iyengar? I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, she is famous for her research on choice. She's basically known as the expert on choice. And she ran this famous study at a grocery store where people were offered 24 different types of jam to choose from. And she found that they were less likely to buy one of them than when they were offered fewer options. Like when they had just 6 options, they would buy more. It would help them act. Whereas when they had too many options, it caused decision paralysis and more people would just freeze. Another psychologist called Barry Schwartz, he found basically the same thing, and he called it the paradox of choice. Too many options make us feel anxious, not free. But when we intentionally limit our options, we feel much more satisfied. It's the same in our lives. Too many commitments, too many apps, too many expectations, we just stall out. We're not failing, we're overloaded. So what does it actually look like to choose less? Well, for me, it starts with asking a simple kind of question. What is actually essential right now? When I strip away all the noise, 3 things usually are left for me. It's my desire for a space to create, a space to connect, and a space to rest. That's it. Everything else is basically logistics. It's the how I want to experience what I want to experience. This is actually why saying no isn't a negative thing. It's an act of alignment. Alignment with your values, alignment with your deeper desires. Every time you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to something else that actually matters to you. Humor me with a metaphor. Think of your life like a suitcase. You can stuff it with 20 pairs of shoes that you're never going to wear, or you can pack only the ones that make every trip better. Less weight, more joy. Intentional living is basically light packing for your soul. Okay, so choosing less sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it without turning into a monk who owns 2 forks and a single beige sweater? I don't have a beige sweater. Anyway, here are a few things that work for me. The first is the yes list. Every season, I write down 3 things that I'm saying yes to, and everything else is secondary. Right now, mine are creative time, time with my partner and loved ones, and taking care of myself through rest. If something doesn't fit under those 3 umbrellas, it's probably a no for right now. Although, sure, life isn't that simple. There are still tons of things that fill up my time. Things like, chores or work or taking care of my health. But I try not to sacrifice these three to make time for the rest. What would be on your yes list? What are your top 3 things for this season? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see if our yes lists align. The second thing is a digital declutter. And instead of a full social media detox, I choose one app or one notification that I don't actually need and remove it. It's a micro shift that frees up so much mental space. I've caught my time being sucked into a vortex recently by mobile games, so instead of going cold turkey and just deleting all the apps, what I did is I added some time limiters. 15 minutes is all I get to play for this game each day, and that's okay. Now they're not that big of a time sink, and I still get to enjoy them. A third practical thing that I do to simplify, which kind of feels counterintuitive half the time, is to establish some creative boundaries. I used to push myself endlessly to exhaustion. I'm not talking about like 8 hours a day. I'm talking about like 18-hour days when I'd push myself creating. I used to be a photographer, and I would work sports events, things like Olympics and Paralympics. And on those months where I was away, I would literally be sleeping 2 or 3 hours a night for ages, and I was fine with that. But that's not sustainable. That leads to burnout. That leads to creative exhaustion. So instead, I actually put boundaries on my creativity. I'll write with a Pomodoro for 3 Pomodoros today, or 2 hours, or a specific amount of time that will still leave enough juice in the creative tank so I can pick up the next day and keep going, and the day after that, and the day after that. In many ways, I still love the idea of showing up for my creativity every day, because creativity just tends to grow when you tend to it often. But creativity isn't like a factory line. It has seasons, and we need to honor these. We need to work with them so that we can create sustainably for a long time in the future. And like I said, creativity can be so addictive. I get addicted to my projects. I dream about them, sleep and think about them, and can't sleep and think about them. It can be intense. I get on a roll, and suddenly I want more and more projects, more drafts, more late night bursts of energy, and then I crash. So to keep it sustainable long term, maybe it's better to add some balance to the mix to try to avoid this creative burnout. Now my creative boundary isn't just creating less, it's about creating within limits. I'll still show up most days, but I set time or energy caps. Maybe 2 hours of deep work, maybe 4 depending on the task, and then I stop, even if I'm tempted to keep going. Because creativity needs both the spark and the breath of fresh air to keep burning bright for a long time. If I never stop, I know I'll just burn out. So let's create within limits to make our creativity sustainable. None of these things are about doing more. They're all about clearing the clutter so the important things can actually happen. Of course, choosing less comes with its own anxiety, and the fear of missing out. What if I say no to the wrong thing? What if I miss an opportunity that could have just changed everything? But I keep having to remind myself, and I think you might too, that there will be more opportunities. There will be more invites, there will be more options, but there is only one you. And research, like some of the things we mentioned earlier, shows that when we commit to a choice, we feel happier. When we stop second guessing, when we stop searching for more, and we commit to fewer things, we feel freer. So less isn't just about doing less, it's about trusting more. It's about trusting that depth matters more than breadth, that presence matters more than options, and that the life you're curating is enough. Intentional living isn't a finish line. It's not somewhere that you arrive and you say, hey, I'm intentional now. I wish that would be so much simpler, but no, it's a daily practice of choosing. And some days it's messy. Some days choosing less means saying no to any kind of creative work and saying yes to Netflix and cuddles with my dog. And that's okay, because intention isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. It's about resonating with what you need inside. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. You don't need more, you need less, chosen with love and guided by your values. So here's my question for you. What's the one thing you're going to be choosing less of this week? Is it less scrolling, less rushing, less self-judgment? What is it? I'd love to hear, so let me know down in the comments. And if this video resonated in any way, I'd love for you to subscribe and stick around for more cozy, intentional creativity, tips, life, rambles, all of that. Next week, we're wrapping up the Seasons of Intention with a cozy fall reading guide. Well, I'm basically going to be making my autumn TBR jar and a few tiny rituals that you can weave into your days.